Alright, picture this. The dragon roars, the wizards gripping their staff, and the barbarians ready to charge headfirst into glory. And then the DM says those four magical words: roll for initiative. Suddenly, the drama screeches to a halt because Jeff grabbed a d12 instead of a d20. Susan is asking if she can reroll because hers landed slightly crooked. And Greg, well, Greg's still in the kitchen making a snack. Initiative is one of those things we've all just accepted. It's how combat starts, it's how we take turns, and it's how your DM gets to laugh when your rogue rolls a 3 and spends the next 10 minutes staring at a wall. But let's be honest, does it actually work? Does it add to the game, or are we just keeping it around because that's how we've always done it? Maybe there's something better. Maybe we've been doing this wrong for decades. Or maybe we just throw the whole thing out the window. Regardless, I think it's time that we talk about it. Alright, let's get this out of the way. Standard initiative works. It's not flashy, but it gets the job done. Kind of like that one player who only shows up to roll dice and eat all of your smart food white cheddar popcorn, which we're not sponsored by the way. Everyone rolls, the DM jots down a list, and boom, combat is suddenly organized no matter how chaotic the goblin ambush felt 5 seconds ago. It's simple, it's suspenseful, and most importantly, it prevents Thordak the Tangible from shouting, "I go first!" every time the DM says roll for initiative. And let's be real, there's something thrilling about the roll itself. That moment of silence when the dice hit the table? Absolute gold. Maybe you're a rogue praying for a nat 20 so you can one-shot the boss. Maybe you're a wizard hoping to not go first so you can actually read the spell descriptions for once. Either way, it's suspenseful and that's what makes it fun. But just because it works doesn't mean it's perfect. Sure, initiative keeps combat structured and fair, but is it a little too structured? Like, would it kill the system to throw in some chaos once in a while? After all, combat in real life, or at least in the fantasy version where goblins exist, isn't exactly turn-based. So, while standard initiative gets the job done, maybe we could turn the dial up on unpredictability and really embrace the madness. Alright, so standard initiative works, we've established that, but let's be honest, working and working well aren't always the same thing. Fax machines work, but I'd rather send a message via carrier pigeon than deal with one. And initiative, well, it's got some quirks. First up, it's slow. Nothing kills the excitement of a surprise ogre attack like spending 5 minutes figuring out turn order. Wait, did Steve the Sorcerer go already? No. Oh wait, yes, hang on, I wrote Steve next to the wrong number. Steve, what was your role again? By the time combat actually starts, the tension's already packed up and gone home. Then, there's the metagaming. Let's say the fighter goes before the rogue. Suddenly, they're making tactical decisions based on that knowledge, even though their characters wouldn't realistically know who's about to act next. It's like if two people got into a bar fight, and one guy just held his punch in the air because he knew the other guy was about to swing first. Feels a little bit weird, right? And don't even get me started on speedsters getting shafted. You've got a rogue with a dexterity score so high, it should come with a speed warning. But if the dice decide to be cruel, they're stuck watching the barbarian do their best impression of a wrecking ball before they even get to react. Meanwhile, the wizard, who has all the reaction time of a sleepy sloth, might roll high and suddenly be expected to make life or death decisions before they've had time to read their spell list. Fair? Debatable. Funny? Oh, absolutely. Okay, Mr. Natural One Guy, I get it. I know all about initiative, rolling dice, taking turns. We've been doing this for years. But why bring this up now? What's even the point? And to that I say, well, it all started on my couch in the middle of yet another completely healthy, totally normal, definitely not concerning session of Baldurs Gate 3. You know, the game that has consumed my waking hours and made me reconsider my priorities in life. As I sat there appreciating the artistic brilliance of its character models, Withers and his big naturals, Minthara who could step on me and I'd thank her, and Halsin whose bare form made me question some things about myself, I started thinking, is there a better way to roll for initiative? See, Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't use the standard d20 we know and love. Instead, it swaps it out for a d4. At first, that sounded ridiculous, like deciding turn order with a coin flip, but somehow worse. But as I kept playing and watching Gale stand there, impatiently demanding to eat another pair of boots while waiting for his turn, I started noticing something. This tiny change actually made a huge difference. Now, at first glance, you might think, oh, a smaller die means more chaos, right? I mean, anyone could go first now. Wrong. It actually does the opposite. Because with only 4 possible outcomes, There's way less variance. And if there's one thing D&D players love, it's stacking bonuses until variance doesn't matter anymore. Take the alert feat, for example. In a D20 system, getting a +5 to initiative is great, but it doesn't guarantee you'll go first. You could still roll low and be outpaced by someone who rolled a nat 20. In a D4 system, that +5 means you literally cannot roll below a 6, and that's before adding your dexterity. You're not just likely to go first, you are mathematically unstoppable. And then there's a Swashbuckler Rogue. Hooray for patch 8! A subclass that adds their charisma to initiative rolls. Normally, that's a nice little buff. In Baldur's Gate 3, if you're playing a Swashbuckler with decent charisma, you basically always go first. So, what does this actually mean for gameplay? Well, combat quickly stops feeling like a dramatic, tense moment of chance and starts feeling like an inevitable sequence where the same characters always act in the same order. Your rogue will always get the drop on enemies, your barbarian will always be reacting instead of initiating, and forget about low dexterity spellcasters getting a surprise round. They might as well start their turns lying on the ground, because that's where they'll end up anyway. Now, to its credit, Baldur's Gate 3 does have one cool wrinkle: collaborative initiative. If multiple characters roll the same number, they can act together. This means group synergy actually matters. And you can set up some ridiculous combos, like a wizard and a fighter both rolling a 3 and deciding to drop a fireball and charge in at the same time. But the downside? If your team rolls low together, you're all stuck waiting while the enemies take a full round of attacks before you even get to react. So is this a better initiative system? It does speed up combat, it does encourage team play, but it also erases a lot of the drama, makes dex-based builds even more dominant in a system that already favors them, and breaks initiative boosting abilities. Instead of making combat unpredictable, it actually makes it more predictable than ever. So if Baldur's Gate 3's approach isn't the answer for you, maybe we need to look at some wilder alternatives. Speaking of alternatives, this video is brought to you by... wait, what's that? No sponsor. Because this channel barely has any subscribers? Huh. If only there were a super easy way to fix that. Like, I don't know, subscribing to the channel. But hey, you do you. Speaking of fixing things, let's talk about some potential initiative fixes that might actually be worth your time. Lucky for us, there are plenty of alternative initiative systems, each with its own mix of genius and absolute nonsense. Some speed things up, some add chaos, and some straight up delete the entire concept of turn order. So let's dive in. First up, group initiative, which is exactly what it sounds like. Each player on the same team rolls, and the DM does the same for the enemies. Whichever side rolls higher goes first, and then everyone on that team takes their turn in whatever order makes sense. This speeds up combat dramatically, which is great if you've ever watched an entire 10-minute TikTok video while waiting for your turn to start. Seriously, it's crazy that they've gotten that long. Anyway, it also forces your players to actually work together, since deciding the order becomes a tactical decision instead of just waiting for Greg to wake up from his nap. The downside? Initiative bonuses basically don't matter anymore. So if you picked alert for a +5 to initiative, congrats! You wasted a feat! It also makes fights feel more like a turn-based strategy game, where the party operates as a single unit, rather than a collection of individuals. Great for teamwork, terrible for the rogue who just wants to stab things before anyone else gets a chance. But what if we took that concept even further? Enter side initiative, which removes individual turn orders completely. Every player acts, then every enemy acts. No complicated turn orders, no tracking whose number is higher than whose, just players versus DM, Battle Royale edition. This is fantastic for big combats because it cuts down on bookkeeping, speeds up fights, and eliminates that awkward moment where a goblin rolls a 19 and somehow takes 3 turns before the sorcerer even gets to blink. But the biggest problem? Whoever goes first has a massive advantage. It turns combat into an alpha strike war, where the side that acts first gets to dump all their strongest abilities before the other side can even react. Despite that, if you ever wanted to watch an entire boss fight get deleted before the enemy even gets to swing, this is the system for you. Of course, if side initiative's predictability is the problem, there's always dynamic initiative system, shamelessly stolen from Pathfinder 2e. Instead of rolling once at the start, you re-roll initiative every single round. 1 second you're going first, the next, you're dead last and watching the fighter get pummeled while you reconsider your life choices. This makes combat feel way more unpredictable, keeping players on their toes, and prevents the rogue from always dominating the start of the fight. But it also means even more dice rolling and extra bookkeeping. So if your group struggles to track whose turn it is with static initiative, this might cause a full-on meltdown. But hey, maybe you're tired of numbers entirely and want to let the story take the wheel. In that case, why not try no initiative at all? No dice rolls, no turn order, combat just flows naturally, with players and the DM narrating what happens based on what makes the most sense. This is great for narrative driven groups who love cinematic combat and don't mind a little anarchy. It's awful for anyone who needs structure to function, because you will get interrupted constantly. And eventually, someone is just going to shout, "I attack first!" louder than anyone else and claim that as law. It's perfect for maximum roleplay immersion and absolute nightmare fuel for your rules lawyer friend who keeps a copy of the player's handbook memorized. So, I know what you're thinking yourself. What's the answer? What's the objectively correct way to run your game? I don't know why people expect me to have the answers. You'd think just because I made a video about this stuff that I know what I'm talking about? I'm not sitting at your table. I'm not eating your snacks or using your bathroom. I swear that's not me. Stop saying it's me. Look, initiative is just another tool. Some groups like it simple, some like it chaotic, and some just want an excuse to argue over house rules for 3 hours instead of actually playing the game. Whatever makes your table happy, that's the right choice. Unless your choice is bad, in which case, well, good luck with that. For some groups, standard initiative is fine. It's predictable, structured, and doesn't require a whiteboard to keep track of. For others, throwing in a new system might make combat more dynamic, engaging, or a complete mess. Either way, it's your table, your rules, your problem. But if you really want to make the right call, maybe subscribing to this channel will give you the divine wisdom needed. Who knows? I sure don't. Anyway, do whatever you want. Video's over.